When my loud brother-in-law demanded to know my military call sign across a crowded dinner table, he thought he was about to humiliate me. He had spent years bragging about his routine service while treating my 14 years in the armed forces as a joke. But when I spoke one single word, an old family friend sitting nearby dropped his fork in absolute shock. My name is Audrey, and for over a decade I worked in high-level classified naval operations that officially did not exist. I never discussed my deployments with anyone, choosing to let my family believe I held a boring administrative job. My husband Derek understood the boundaries of my silence, but his brother Trevor saw my quiet nature as a weakness he could exploit at every gathering. Trevor was a junior officer who loved being the center of attention, constantly boasting about basic training exercises as if he had single-handedly saved the nation. During a family Sunday dinner, he turned to me with his usual arrogant smirk and asked if I had ever seen a real mission. Before I could answer, an older guest named Chief Walter leaned forward and asked for my official call sign. The room grew completely silent as I quietly replied with the call sign guardian. Chief Walter stared at me with profound respect, recognizing a name from classified files he was never meant to see. Trevor tried to laugh off the tension, but the atmosphere had shifted entirely. For the first time, my husband squeezed my hand with pride, while his brother looked utterly confused by what had just occurred. The following morning, Chief Walter called my personal phone after tracking down my contact details through old naval networks. He explained that he had served decades in special operations and instantly recognized the disciplined weight behind my former title. Hearing a fellow veteran acknowledge the dangerous sacrifices I had kept hidden for years brought a profound sense of relief to my heart after feeling isolated for so long. Unwilling to let the mystery go, Trevor began digging into my military background to prove I was exaggerating my service. He used his military connections to request my official files, expecting to find routine paperwork. Instead, every inquiry he submitted returned a stark access denied warning. Learning that my records were classified far above his security clearance only fueled his growing frustration and wounded his fragile ego. To regain his standing as the star of the family, Trevor secured tickets to an elite military gala and insisted that Derek and I attend. He believed that surrounding me with senior brass would force me to admit my administrative status in front of influential officers. I agreed to go without hesitation, knowing that true honor never requires loud public displays or constant self-promotion to prove its worth. At the gala, Trevor paraded us around the room, introducing me to young officers as a simple desk worker who handled logistics. I remained calm and composed, letting him enjoy his temporary sense of superiority. But the dynamic in the room changed dramatically when a high-ranking officer, Admiral Vance, walked through the main doors. Everyone straightened up, expecting the Admiral to greet the senior commanders near the stage. Instead of stopping at the head table, Admiral Vance walked directly across the room toward our small group. He extended his hand to me with deep formality, calling me guardian in front of everyone present. Trevor froze with his drink halfway to his mouth as the Admiral publicly thanked me for saving countless lives during classified operations that most people in the room would never be authorized to know about. The surrounding officers looked at me with newfound awe, while Trevor stood motionless as his carefully constructed narrative crumbled around him. The Admiral offered a final respectful salute before walking away, leaving behind a silence far louder than the background music. Derek held my hand tightly, while Trevor stared at me as if he were seeing a completely different person for the very first time in his life. Over the following weeks, rumors of the Admiral greeting spread quickly through local military circles. Trevor became increasingly withdrawn, unable to handle the fact that his quiet sister-in-law possessed a legacy far greater than his own. His parents began treating me with a soft respect, asking gentle questions about my life, while Trevor struggled to accept that he was no longer the sole military hero of the family. Desperate for a final confrontation, Trevor used his upcoming engagement party at the Officers Club as a venue to challenge me directly. In front of both families and high-ranking guests, he stood up during the toasts and demanded that I reveal the specific details of my service. He loudly claimed that my mysterious persona was just an excuse to hide a lack of real field experience from everyone present. I remained entirely unbothered by his outburst, calmly stating that my work was classified to protect national security. Trevor smirked, claiming my refusal was proof of my deceit. However, before he could finish his speech, a senior commander who had overseen Joint Task Force missions stepped forward. He silenced the room by detailing how my leadership had brought dozens of soldiers home safely from dangerous territory without taking personal credit. The room erupted into applause for my service, leaving Trevor standing pale and speechless in front of his fiancée and her parents. He finally realized that his arrogance had only exposed his own insecurities to the people whose respect he wanted most. That evening marked the complete collapse of his need to compete with me, as the truth stood firmly on its own without requiring any defense from my side. A few days later, Trevor came to my house alone to offer a genuine apology. Sitting at my kitchen table, he admitted that he had spent years trying to diminish my achievements simply to make himself feel important. He confessed his deep shame for treating me poorly and promised to change his behavior. I accepted his apology with grace, explaining that true strength lies in quiet dedication rather than constant seeking of approval. At the next family gathering, Trevor stood up and raised his glass to offer a heartfelt toast in my honor. He publicly recognized me as the bravest person he had ever known, shedding all of his former arrogance. The atmosphere around the table transformed into one of mutual respect and warmth, allowing our family to finally move forward without tension, united by honesty and genuine understanding of one another. Looking back on those years, I never felt the need to boast about my medals or classified missions, because real honor does not require public validation. Carrying silent sacrifices taught me that true character is revealed through humility and resilience. Being fully seen by my family brought peace, reminding me that the quietest people in the room often carry the heaviest stories without ever needing to shout them out to the world.